Hello, everyone. We're here on the Christmas
Hello.
special.
Brett's halls are decked. So, in case anyone was skeptical of his holiday cheer, you don't have to be skeptical anymore.
we both we both decked out our standard office holiday attire, and
Absolutely.
and hopefully luckily my light bulbs are all LED, so the room won't catch on fire and burn all the paper away while we're sitting here.
Did you get Brett and I had a conversation last week about LED lights. So you did end up replacing them.
I got some. At least the office is improved.
That's
There's
good.
always it's always an evolving process. You got the outside lights,
Yeah.
the tree lights, the indoor lights. Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. This is Laura. I'm
Greetings.
I'm Brett. We're live on the internet.
Yeah.
Um,
Hello, Internet. We're
hello.
both holly and or jolly. Brett, you promised me you'd have a beverage in your hand. Oh, you do have one.
Unfortunately, it's not bourbon yet. It is tea, but
Yeah,
we'll get there.
I'm getting older. I mean, I am in Europe, so it's like it's past 7 p.m. my time, but it's like lunchtime for you. So
Yeah, yeah. Although I've had a beverage or two at lunch. I've been known to. So hello everyone in chat. Sorry if I didn't get to say hi to everyone. Happy Log4j week. We're definitely going to be talking
it
about
is.
that. If you want to break, if you want to break from the Log4Shell news, this is not the place for that because we will mention it and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and make fun of a variety of news outlets for their coverage on it. So get ready. On Twitter, I promised like hottest hot takes of 2021, and that's definitely part of it. So
Yeah. Well, so let's just lead with that. So first off, let's make sure everyone knows Laura. So she's been on the show, I don't know, half a dozen times
a,
maybe
hand,
over the years.
a good handful of times, Brett. Brett,
Yeah.
we've known. I was reflecting on. I was like 2021. How long have Brett and I known each other? It's been 7 years, 6 years. When did we meet each other? 2014,
2016.
2013,
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was earlier, but
I know.
still,
It seemed but that was still 5 years ago.
yeah, it was still 5 years ago. So in
Yeah.
container years, those are like dog years.
It's a lifetime.
So
It's a lifetime. It was in Seattle when we were
yeah,
at
so I've
DockerCon. Yeah.
that's true. So I'm no stranger to Brett's little internet show here.
You were here last year for an end of year special, and
I was.
I think well, let's talk about you for a second. So you've had a career that eventually led to VP of engineering in several places, and now you stopped working for the man, and now you're working for yourself. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Brett, it's inspiration from you, I have to say. I remember the first time I met you and you just said, I don't do well with authority. And I was like, who's this guy? But yeah, I was VP of engineering at an ed tech company called Aula. I joined in August of 2019. And mere months later, COVID hit, universities closed down. It was just a wild, wild ride working in technology that was used for teaching and learning, especially online teaching and learning. I got really tired. And I'm a person who spent, the last 20 years working 60, 70 hours a week. And I just thought, is there something different? Maybe Brett's onto something. And I decided to start my own business. So I'm now an engineering leadership coach. I have clients all over the world, startup founders, CTOs, engineering leaders. It's really rewarding to work with them and kind of help them level up, be the engineering leaders that they wish they had earlier in their career. And I'm doing some interim VP work right now. I'm working with a company called Nova Credit. Shout out to Nova Credit. I think some of them are watching right now. Hey, they're, fintech is something that's new to me, and probably maybe new to you a little bit, Brett, because I think we've stayed kind of in the developer tool world because DevOps is like, I don't know, it's our jam. And part of my exploration into edtech was just seeing what it's like on the outside, like not on a team that writes software for other developers. But Nova's great. They're trying to help immigrants get access to financial products because like credit history is such a weirdly American thing. And like America likes to lock out people from financial institutions. So they're doing some like really, really interesting stuff when it comes to like user-initiated data transfer, infosec. So actually, this group is probably quite the right audience if you're looking for something with a little bit more mission. Nova's hiring right now, so you can go to their website, novacredit.com, and check them out. But I really like what they do, and I'm not a, I don't say that lightly. So
Yeah.
oh, hey Phil.
And that's the nice. Oh,
Phil's
Phil,
here.
what's up? We have Saeem on here. We have a whole bunch of people. Eric, Raj, Biker, Manvidar, Bill, Kevin, Martin.
All great
Yes,
folks.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think like 2021 in summary for me was just like being a little bit more in control, especially at a time when lots of things are out of control. So I think the greatest part about working for myself is like I get to decide what's okay and what's not okay, and what shit posting I can do on Twitter and what I don't want to do. I don't have to worry about.
Right.
I'm my employer, and I get to say no to things that I don't want to do more often. So that's been great.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm really happy.
Well, and I'm happy for you. I'm glad. I'm always willing to, help anyone who wants to freelance, go solo, start their own thing, do a little startup. I've tried all these things. I'm not great at most of it. So yeah, I'm glad. Hopefully you learned a good habit from me and not a bad one, because I have lots of bad freelancing habits, like staying up late and sleeping in. Like that's a problem.
Totally. Well, I have a kid, so I can't really do that, I have to admit. I think Bret, you and I both have like the entrepreneurial spirit, and actually Phil, it's great that like you're here. I think Phil has that spirit as well. Like people just want to create something of their own, instead of participating in a system that other people define for them. And I just got to a point where I was like, I've been, this is not my first rodeo. This is like my 12th rodeo, and I want to run the show. So I contemplated like doing my own like product business, and I thought maybe I build a business on services, but damn, it's hard.
Yeah.
I think I really appreciate now. I think when you're an engineer, it's easy to be like, oh, marketing, what do they even do? Or like, sorry,
the words
Betty,
out of my mouth.
Betty Junod.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and Betty and I have talked about this. Betty Junod, who, if you're in the Docker community, you know all about Docker selfies. That's Betty. She's absolutely brilliant and like knows her shit 100% when it comes to cloud containers, multi-cloud. She's at VMware now, but she gets a lot of it of like, oh, what do you like marketing? What do you do? Or like undervaluing it. But now that I'm running my own company, I'm just like, damn, this stuff is hard. It's easy to like sit and hack in a terminal, but having to figure out like messaging that connects people, it's really difficult. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. What are you up to, Bret?
That rings
besides deck in the halls.
Besides all the lights and the colors. Well, that rings true with me because I tried a little startup on my own, a software startup a little over a decade ago, right when Azure was new. I started a little 2-person
Azure
when it was when no one has say it, and we still don't. But Azure. What was the other way?
It's different in British English. Like it's different. American English says Azure, and every other place where English is spoken pretty much says Azure. Maybe some of our international friends can confirm or deny that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So. Good news is you're always right. Bad news is you're always wrong when you say it.
Yeah, and someone will point it out either way. So, and I mean, and that was our biggest challenge. It was 2 devs making a great software product and not worrying about customers until the product was ready. And then when we had no customers, we didn't know how to get them, and that was our big struggle. Yeah,
it's tough. It's hard out there.
So, well, congratulations and good luck to you.
Thanks,
so for me, I've been doing this show. I think we're like 2.5, 3 years in or something like that. We're on, this is, by the way, 150th week. So you were here last year when we did the 100.
I was here for 100. So now I'm glad to be here for 150.
Yes.
Although that means, Bret, you only took 2 weeks off this last year, and I'll give you a stare of disapproval for that.
Yeah. Or maybe we're just early. But yeah, I think I took off Thanksgiving.
That's good.
So let's get to some news, and then we're gonna. So the plan today is we're gonna talk about some big headlines from the year that we care about, some of the current stuff going on, especially Log4Shell, and then we're gonna talk about what our favorite tech is in general, like for the year, and then we're gonna talk about next year, like what's the future, what are we into. So the first thing up was talking about
our favorite topic.
Security vulnerabilities. Yay!
Security vulnerabilities. Yay!
Everybody patch.
Everybody patch now.
Oh my! I just realized that I need a little holiday festive border on this. So why don't you give us a brief intro real quick? Not to put you on the spot, but everyone here is probably dealing with this, so they don't need a lot of it. But for those that maybe don't have to worry about Java, what is this?
Is that a question for me, Bret?
That is a question for you. or would you rather me start?
No, I mean, this is a great vulnerability of just injecting random shit in your application by using one of the most pervasive, most ubiquitous logging libraries out there. So I think Bret and you and I were talking about before the show. It's like, this is not a question of like, ooh, are you vulnerable? Or where are you running Log4j? That's not what this is. This is like, you are using it. It is somewhere in there. If you're not aware of it, just like It's hiding somewhere, you need to figure it out.
Yeah,
this is great.
Yeah, it's probably on our fridges and all of our IoT and everywhere.
It's on your washing machine, Bret. If your washing machine has an IP address.
Yeah. The worst thing about it is it doesn't have to be customer facing. It doesn't have to, it's because it can be on the back end. It doesn't have to be exposed to the internet. And just like people were joking in chat, like Eric was saying, like posting a little Slack or a little text message, like this one, all it takes is a specially crafted little text in something that will eventually lead to a logging system somewhere that just happens to be running something Java, and then boom, you can basically run whatever you want there.
Yeah.
So anyway, for those that, so that's like this is bad internet fire kind of problem. It's so bad that places like Cloudflare are actually automatically blocking some of these attacks for us because they're already seeing them in the wild before anyone even knew that it existed. I think they were claiming December 1st was the first one they saw. But I learned a lot from this YouTube video from the SANS Institute, which decades ago I got a certification with them, and I love them, and they're fantastic. One of the most intensive, like 4-day Windows security courses, and this was in 2004, I think, and it was on Windows.
Oh, wow.
So it was like showing how to hack Active Directory when Active Directory was only a few years old in a Windows world, and it was really cool. Anyway, so I have a lot of respect for them, and they had a whole live stream, basically breaking everything down. What is this? What versions is it in? What versions is it not? How do you mitigate? What other attempts might you make to mitigate without patching if you can't patch? Or how do you discover it? How do you, what does it look like when people are attacking? Like it's just great. It's worth at least skimming for 15 minutes, even if you don't think you have Java somewhere.
Yeah. I think that's like, maybe one bad consequence of the pervasiveness of containerization and Dockers and just people just like using images that other people write is that you might not know exactly what's in them. So Docker had a pretty good blog post from Justin Cormack, who's now CTO. He came, did he come in from Unikernel when Docker acquired Unikernel? I think so.
Oh, really?
Justin's like one of the...
I might have forgot that.
I thought so. Because he's in Cambridge. I'm pretty sure that's where he came in. Yeah. I don't know. Justin, tell me if I'm wrong. He's one of the smartest people I know, though. He's brilliant. But he's now CTO of Docker and wrote this blog post on how like Docker tooling needs to be updated in order to even detect the vulnerability, because Docker scan prior to a certain version didn't even detect it. So you need to make sure that everything is up to date, not just your dependencies, but give your old Docker a little check. Yes, Phil. Thank
Phil
you.
Confirms.
I thought so. We
have independent third-party confirmation.
Independent third party.
Yeah, unikernels. I mean, and that was That was back when Docker was acquiring a bunch of companies. But yeah, he's been there forever.
Absolutely.
So for the cliff notes for you all is, if you don't know about the Docker scan command, which basically has a built-in sneak scanner for vulnerabilities, as long as you're on the latest Docker, that's what this post is about, is like basically making sure you get your Docker desktop updated. Then you'll get the scan command. You can always obviously use sneak independently without Docker, but if you want to scan images to see whether or not they have this vulnerability, you can do that on Docker Hub, assuming you pay, by just going in and toggling the automatic scanning. I think that's kind of part of what this post is talking about, is you can do it on Docker Hub, you can do it manually. Mentioning a couple of mitigations. Like a lot of people have been talking about just taking this class library, which is the core of the JNDI vulnerability, and just getting rid of it, just removing it to see if nothing breaks, then maybe you weren't even using that class.
We'll do it live.
That's why not. So I'll put that link up there for anyone to watch. All right, let's move on. I think.
Wait, Brett. I want to share a fun fact with you.
Oh, please.
Before we move on from this, because we're talking about Sneak, I learned that Sneak is actually an acronym. It stands for So Now You Know. SNYK.
What?
That's where the name comes from. I know. Isn't that crazy? I had no idea.
No one has ever told me that. Why am I learning this now?
It came from the source themselves, like it's from Sneak employees. So,
Eric can confirm.
I thought it was just like sneak, like sneaking around. Yeah, right. Thanks, Eric.
Right. Yeah, that's
blew my mind. I was like that. That just it gives me a whole new level of respect. So
yeah, that's a pretty good name. Namings are hard nowadays. So the fact that it can be an acronym, but also a word that you think is another word, but there's really a hidden acronym. Like, that's awesome. The more you know, cool. Right? Yeah, pew, the little star. All right. So okay, we ready? Next one.
Cool. Let's move on.
HashiCorp.
Oh, what's your mascot's name? Sorry, Eric. What's your mascot's name? I did know this at one point. I don't know.
The dog? It's the Doberman, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could Google it, but it's way more fun.
I have a sticker, but I don't know.
I do. I have a bunch of stickers too.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait. Patch. Oh my god. Oh my god. That perfect. Is like that's so good.
So what we're talking about is by the way, Eric and I did a show like 3 months ago on reviewing. We just reviewed people's infrastructure as code right live in the show as people brought it, just on off the cuff, and that was kind of fun. So we're talking about this little doggy right there and up at the top left. Anyway, go check out Sneak.
And if Sneak is new to you, this is like an automatic vulnerability scanner for, especially if you're doing like open source code using containers, infrastructure as code, etc. It's great. Just like add it to your CI/CD pipeline, make it part of your release process. Sneak has been a tool I've been following since, I don't know, like the first time they were at DockerCon when it was just still like a super small company, and now they blew up so much in the last few years, and it's great because they really fill an important gap. I'm always really impressed with the stuff coming out of there. So good job.
Yeah. I'm trying to I'm failing to log in right now because I'm on a different browser. Oh, there we go. I was going to show the dumpster fire that is my open source vulnerabilities. Yeah. I've only got,
there's only one critical. Like,
only 2,000.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
I try really hard to keep my stuff. But yes, old Node.js from years ago, it's gonna be garbage. So
yeah.
So I get those weekly emails, and I always joke. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these statistics every week I get from a vulnerability scanner? Because I'm like, that's thousands. Like, what am I gonna do? I have no push button fix. All right. Should
we talk about
HashiCorp IPO?
HashiCorp.
I didn't watch them on the bell. What I did, though, unrelated to this, but another IPO this year is Udemy. Udemy went IPO in September or October, I think. I think it was October. And I was very excited with that. I actually knew people that were on at the ringing of the bell at NASDAQ, so that was kind of exciting. I don't know if I know any of these people. I haven't actually looked through, but I imagine there's some engineers. There's got to be some engineers in there putting their fancy Sunday best on.
Yeah, one of my former colleagues from CloudBees that came in also from an acquisition when CodeShip got acquired, went to HashiCorp after he left CloudBees, and he must be riding a high wave. He's super, super talented. So that's great. Great to see success. It's wild though, like we went through this period of disruption and of like a lot of little guys and a lot of small tools, and now I feel like some like HashiCorp, those companies are growing up and they're going IPO. I mean, I imagine Sneak is probably not far behind them because they're getting there as well. So kind of turning a new chapter. Oh, that says it right there, a new chapter. But yeah, turning into a new chapter for like,
it was subliminal.
5 years ago when Docker was like all the rage and there were all these like small dev tool companies. And now we're like fast forward 5 years later, some of those like small disruptors are going IPO and they're just as big.
Yeah,
so I wonder what's next.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to change. I mean, was this the year that Terraform went 1.0, or was that last year? I'm trying to think of what other milestones they had. I'm sure they've had like Waypoint. Waypoint, I think, was announced last year. I have a hard time with history.
It's so hard to remember dates. Yeah, they did. Or wait, no. When did it go 1.0? Their last release was 44 days ago. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm hearing news lately about 1.1. I do not know anything about it. So I was reading an article about proper environment variables in Terraform and was applauding all the things, standardization, because Terraform is everywhere and like dozens of repos on every client of mine, and it's just pervasive. So it's good to see it grow up so that we can actually start to make it a little more consistent with modules and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, one topic that I wanted to change. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna keep skipping ahead. You let me know if I.
Oh, yeah, let's move on.
I always like Bill Gates's end of the year review because it kind of gives a much better perspective to the year than I remember, and obviously COVID is very much about that because his nonprofit is working in multiple levels with that. But I like that he always rose colors, or he gives a brighter potential for the future of fixing things. So he doesn't rant for too long, and his rants are always very nice anyway. Anyway.
Well, if there's anyone who's in a position to like literally fix any problem on Earth, it's him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get ranting rights.
Yeah. All that Buffett money. So yeah, if you want a nice perspective of the year for the planet, like climate change and political change and the scourge of social, like all those things, it's a good review. I recommend to read. Let's see. I'm gonna go over to the list. What's on our list?
Yeah. Let's talk about
the year of the dashboard. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the year of the dashboard. This is on my list. And it's really, I guess it's like 2020 and 2021 are the year of the dashboard because of COVID. I remember like early 2020, just like trying to get more information. And I think everybody is really familiar with the Johns Hopkins University dashboard, which is like super fancy and proprietary. But a lot of smaller organizations, health organizations are like, they're using Grafana, and like Grafana is now in the hands of just like people who would have absolutely no reason to interact with Grafana in their normal day before. So it just brings me so much joy, and it's like a nice connecting point where like Grafana is not just for nerds anymore. So I can kind of I can try to like help explain what it is I do, or like help explain what it is like when engineers are looking at dashboards or trying to like do it, like doing monitoring and observability. I can kind of like compare it to COVID and be like, well, you know how dashboards work because now everyone's familiar with them. I think it's great. It just like, it pleases my little nerd heart to know that Grafana's out front and center in front of so many people.
I think my first experience with a web dashboard was like 15 plus years ago with SharePoint, and it was such a horrible, painful experience back then that I still have battle scars of like KPI dashboards that were a
Oh my
bunch of .NET framework stuff and very specific architectures. But it's nice. It's nice to see this stuff
yeah.
being much like you're saying. It's like if you're a cloud native shop and you're trying to run a lot of the tools, you're likely going to have Grafana in that shop, and we've not really
Yeah.
had a consistent. I mean, maybe a few monitoring tools out there, maybe like some of the older open source monitoring tools that would have their own dashboard. That like those would maybe be in certain shops, but it's been only recently that we've had an expectation that you walk into a team and they have a dashboard solution that you've heard of, and that it's not some
Yeah. Yeah.
proprietary, solution that only works for
It's
that
not
product.
obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. Um,
You're the
like
dashboard.
I love dashboards. I really love incident response. It's a muscle that I trained really well when I was working at CodeShip and then into CloudBees. Um, it just like I love more of the site reliability type work, infrastructure work, and I actually love incidents. I hate it in the moment, but I really love that like the spike of adrenaline that you get when like something's broken, and I love being able to find out first and finding out super early because we have great reporting and great dashboards. So dashboards are very much my best friend. Learning how to read dashboards and putting meaningful information on them are great. And yeah, I'm just like, my little nerd heart is so pleased. Love a good
Yeah.
dashboard.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking like there's dashboards everywhere that I like all the places I work and help. It's like that. It's dashboard heaven.
Dashboard City.
So, all right. So if you agree out there, or if you have a really great Grafana dashboard you want to show off, that's kind of, imagine that being a thing where we're all like, check out my dashboard. Like I put
Check
it
out
into
my
GitHub.
dashboard.
I have a custom. I remember, I forgot his name. Had a Prometheus Grafana. It had a solution for Swarm, and it was an all-in-one repo, and it did all the graphs automatically and all the metrics. And now it's been years since I've played with it, but it was one of my first experiences with Kibana Grafana world.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And anyway,
Back in the good old days, Brett.
so all
Back in
right,
the good old days.
You're the dashboard.
What's next?
You heard it here first, Laura. Laura coined that term, and then
The year of the dashboard and the year of Linux on the desktop.
That's right.
Simultaneously.
Every
year is the year of Linux on
year.
the desktop.
Every year.
Every year.
The NFT world. So we put NFTs on the list, but I don't think either one of us is an expert in it.
Absolutely not. It was so funny because I was like, both of us ahead of this were like, I feel like we need to talk about NFTs, but I actually don't really know a lot about it. So this is us being comfortable in our own lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been like, I mean, crypto is just interesting. I have interesting opinions. Not even interesting opinions. I just have opinions on crypto. And it's just been interesting in 2021 to kind of see like blockchain adjacent things move from just like cryptocurrency out into different areas, and like also seeing the political influence that it has about like carbon footprint. And I think that's really why NFTs were on my radars, because I'm following a lot of just like the carbon footprint of minting NFTs, the carbon footprint of cryptocurrency. And now there's in the EU at least legislation preventing just like preventing them. Phil Estes is now a bajillionaire after minting an NFT of this live stream. You better cut both of us in.
Yep.
Phil.
Yep.
To your being a billionaire. But
it's a unique item. Never again will it ever. One of one.
Absolutely. It's
I
like
will
the
say
most
that
rare.
I will say though, I don't have any information or tips, but I do learn a little bit from Kevin Rose's podcast called Modern Finance, which I think this is the year that they started that. And he has other people on. He has actually now other podcasts. He even created a NFT-based membership site that only 1,000 NFTs are made, and you have to have one to have access. So it's like a prestige thing at that point, which a lot of this stuff is prestige, bragging rights. But anyway, I learned a lot about what the potential for them, because I just thought it was just like I just thought it was people spending money on useless things
People
and
inventing stuff and
yeah,
spending
ways to
money on
spend
useless
money.
things.
And Kevin kind of clued me in. If you never heard of Kevin Rose, he's been around the internet for decades, including all the way back in screensaver days on the TV. That's where he got his start, and he's been doing cool journalism and just talking about cool tech stuff ever since. So smart
Yeah.
guy. So
I've
check out Modern
started,
Finance.
yeah, on the similar vein, I've started listening. Actually, my husband started listening to, and then I, by association, started listening to as well because I didn't have a choice. But now I actually really enjoy it. This podcast called My First Million. Um, and it's I am so bad at remembering names. Sam Parr and Sean Puri. It's just, I mean, some of it is like leaning a little bit too like tech bro-y, where they're talking about like designing your life and like the fact that having a Ferrari or a Maserati like makes them stressed out because they're afraid of hitting the bottom of the car on their driveway. And I'm just like, oh my God, can we not talk about this? But other things are just really interesting. Like, so Bret, we talked at the start of the show of starting our own company, but the other option to being an entrepreneur is just like buying an existing company. And there's all these different platforms that people are selling internet businesses that you can just buy, and you can look at them and see like, have they been optimized for XYZ? What could you do if you put in if you put in just like minimal effort? And there's this particular episode that I just love, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to hear it. But this guy bought like a dog bed company and turned it into like an $8 million something crazy. He bought it for like $300,000 and turned it into like a multi-million-dollar dog dog ramps. It's not even dog bed and it's not a dog staircase. It's a dog ramp for people who have like aging or small pets who can't get up on a bed by themselves or up onto the couch. So Bret, maybe you're the target demographic for this because little Finn like needs to climb up
It's right.
onto your bed.
That's right. It is a big jump. He has a step.
He has a step. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also, going back to NFTs, they minted an NFT one of one that gets you 5 minutes of airtime on their podcast, which has like, I don't know, millions of listeners. So that's it. That's interesting. Like those experiments, I'm like, okay, this is not just useless people making up things. But I found that to be kind of an interesting.
Yeah. I think from a tech perspective, it's interesting just because if NFTs as an idea tend to take off, and it's not just a fad for people buying Nikes and, $40,000 bottles of wine, it'll be something where we'll end up with tech stacks. Like we'll have an NFTs tech stack that has the ability for you to buy and sell, and there's probably already a WordPress plugin for all this already, so I'm already behind the scene, behind the times or whatever, but there'll be tech stacks that we'll have to understand and build out in order to do the mining and the crypto and all that stuff or whatever. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying words.
If it's allowed, I think that's another interesting thing. I can't remember, and I'm going to get this totally wrong, but you just take it for the sentiment, but something about like 90% of crypto or something in the US is mined with billing addresses in, it's like South Carolina or Kentucky or something weird, because they don't charge, there's some like tax benefit of doing it there. So there's just like all these weird economic considerations as well. I think Sweden's trying to pass legislation to not allow basically not allow cryptocurrency exchanges to happen, or like anything mining in Sweden. It's kind of like when things go off the internet and into real life that just are, they become
it gets even weirder.
It gets even weirder.
Yeah.
It gets even weirder. So
yeah. So this leads me to, I think, I don't know, it's not a weird trend maybe, but it's weird to me that we have given it a name called the Great Resignation. And I don't have a dog in this hunt, but you did. You're a part of it. You're I'm a great member.
Part of it. So if the Great Resignation is a new thing, basically it's a term to represent the fact that in 2020, 2021, just like a bunch of people left their jobs, either for like, out of necessity because they had to deal with childcare, or just because of like there's got to be more to life, and just burnout and, trying to find something different. So if you were an engineer right now, you probably noticed this, because I can guarantee the amount of recruiter volume in your LinkedIn inbox is probably like quadrupled, if not more. It's hot. Like, the hiring market in the US especially is like outrageously competitive right now for engineering talent. And part of the reason why, and I kind of had to do a little bit of debugging to understand this, when March 2020 hit and just like the world came to a grinding halt, so many companies went on hiring freezes, which meant they laid off their talent. They just like laid off their talent teams, their recruiters. Then when hiring opened back up, they didn't have a recruiting muscle in their company. So now engineering managers are left to do recruiting and reach outs. And it's just like, it's a mad dash for talent, and engineers especially are in high demand and saying, hey, I don't want to work for a company that requires me to go into the office. I don't want to work for a company that says unlimited vacation, and, the expectation is that you take 5 days off a year. Standards are going up, and it's just an interesting time out there to be working for a company. So I'm part of it. I left my job in my permanent exec job in January of this year, and I haven't looked back. So
you're a founding member.
I'm a founding member. Yeah.
Of the Great Resignation. Yeah, technically it's been 12 years for me since my last resignation. Yeah. So I do resign from
your
clients.
Last resignation.
I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
I do end client, which when we talk about what's in the future, I will mention that I'm getting away from client work for a while and getting purely focused on course content and all that stuff, which means I have to tell my clients this will be the last payment or whatever. I have to give them an end date, because client, if you're a decent enough consultant, if you show up and you do the work that you say you're going to do, they tend to keep hiring, keep paying you, and keep you on. So at some point you have to kind of let them go.
It's kind of the design, right? Is that you do work and then people pay you for it, Brett.
Right.
Can you give us are you going to save that for next, of the sneak peek of what the next course is or coursework?
I don't have the next course picked. I'm just
tight-lipped.
I'm just updating my current ones, really. I don't want to give a promise of what the next course is, because it'll really, I think, be based on when I'm able to do it. And I know that the current courses, everybody is looking for updates too. So I've now got
NFT minting with Bret Fisher. You heard it here first, folks.
It will definitely not be that. We can list all the ones that I won't make. Which will be a blockchain mining NFT course. That will not happen. I don't know. Foundations of DevOps. I love GitHub Actions. I'd love to do a whole GitHub Actions, or just like DevOps on GitHub, maybe. Only just because I feel like a lot of these courses are so generic, and they're always dealing with old tools, Jenkins and stuff like that. And there's not a ton of stuff where they're just throwing away all the old stuff and saying, look, if you have Jenkins, great. There's tons of Jenkins content out there. Go do it. If you want the new stuff, that is where all the action's at, let's go look at that instead. And that's kind of, that might be something. But I wrote this one on the list. I'm going to change the topic real quick. Everything ARM. I don't know. I lost count of how many ARM processor shows I had this year and how many times I mentioned it during regular shows. But I would say largely due to Apple's migration to ARM CPUs, but also AWS's amazing Graviton processors that just hit their V3, which is even faster and better and bigger than before. I feel like finally, a year ago I was saying you're going to have to start looking at ARM for multi-platform developing if you haven't. And now I'm like, 2022 is definitely going to be that year. If it wasn't that year for you, 2021, then 2022, you're not going to be able to avoid it unless you have 0 Mac users in your environment and you have no one trying to reduce cost in AWS, which is in most teams like a constant source of frustration, of cost,
pain,
and the Gravitons are awesome, and I've tried them, and they work like a champ. We just had Liz Fong Jones on a couple weeks ago with Honeycomb, and they migrated all of their Intel architecture on AWS over to the Graviton 3s, like the day after it was announced at AWS's conference, and it was and I think reInvent did it announced it like on a Monday or Tuesday, and I think by Wednesday she was posting that they had basically migrated all their instances over to Graviton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
So if you haven't looked into any of the ARM stuff, go back in this channel. Just go back to another video from earlier this year. Search the word ARM.
Liz Fung Jones.
You will find. I mean, I did entire shows on multi-platform images, on what this means for Docker Desktop. Obviously stuff about the MacBook and the Mac M1 releases and all that. But yeah, there's lots of stuff going on there. Docker, I do have a post somewhere. Docker did. Tonis did post about this earlier. There we go. And it's a good summary for anyone who's just now getting into this, besides going and looking at some of my old videos. This is a good summary of the state of it. Like, you've got to build images multi-platform, but there's different ways that you do it. And sometimes, like with Golang or .NET, you're actually cross-compiling on Intel, but your compiler does the work for you for compiling for ARM v8 or ARM v7. And then there's other languages that you need to emulate the processor or be on an actual ARM to build it. And he does a really great job of basically explaining the difference, because there's a lot of complexity and nuances that people don't maybe think about when you're virtualizing, or when you're emulating inside of a virtualization, and your brain starts to hurt of all the different levels of CPU emulation. So anyway, for those that are new, there's that. That was a big thing this year, and I think that'll be a big thing next year too.
It's turtles all the way down. You're in Inception. You're in an emulation inside of an emulation. So
I am actually a robot at this point on the internet.
I don't doubt it. One last thing for me before we move on to favorite tech. And oddly enough, another crypto related thing. A couple of months ago, there was a original copy, or like a contemporary copy of the Constitution for sale. And there was a decentralized autonomous organization that fundraised a bunch and tried to bid and buy the Constitution. And that's just like, I think, a great example of, right, like the internet things that impact real life. I just thought that was like, I had never in my life would have thought that would have happened. But one thing I'm so curious about now is, like, obviously they didn't win. I mean, womp womp. I was a little bummed about it because I think that would have been cool. But now they're trying to refund all that money that was raised. So that's like just logistically, because it's not, I mean, it was not a small amount of money. It's like many millions that the winning bid was, and I think they were pretty close to it. So that was just like an interesting little crossover of like internet and real life, and the impact of it's like crypto on real civil problems. Right. And also, like, should people be able to own the Constitution? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
I don't even know the news on this. I guess there's multiple copies that were made and signed. And
yeah, so I think there's like 8 or 9 copies that were,
and some were privately
produced. Yeah, and I think there was one that was privately owned that went up for auction and sold. I actually don't know how much it sold for. A lot of money. Also, what do you do with that? Like, do you donate it to a museum, or like have it on loan, or do you just like have it in your bathroom? Just like, what do you do?
Yes to all. I mean, I do. I believe that a lot of the stuff, at least in the Smithsonian, is not necessarily owned by them. So
it's just
like, if I go and look at it, I just happened to be in Washington D.C. for the Thanksgiving holiday last month here in America, and by the way, the museums there, because of COVID, it was just like you had to do everything online. So you couldn't just walk around and see anything unless it was outside. Because you had to have a ticket, even if it was just a $1 ticket. So like the Holocaust Museum was $1 ticket, but you had to get it ahead of time, which means you can't just go the day of. You got to plan in advance. And so that was random topic, but I wouldn't have been able to go see the Constitution if I wanted to. So I guess I'm going to have to see it in someone's bathroom in order to
you're going to have to get an invite to that party so that you can go to the bathroom and see the Constitution. Yeah.
It needs to be in like
also,
a random bar.
Marcos, you're saying Brett's on his M1, which he's told me about many times, but how silent it is. And
Yes.
sometimes I don't have an M1 yet, but mine sounds like it's about to take off and go out the window. So um, I'm excited. That'll maybe be my exciting thing about 2022. And with that,
Oh, is buying a new one?
why don't we, buying a new MacBook. Why don't we talk about favorite tech of the year or like tech that we're excited about for 2022? You can go first, Brett.
Sure. Let's see. Where did my linky link go? A couple of things, actually. I'll just rapid fire on them. So GitHub Actions, I talked about it a lot this year, but I feel like this was the year where it went from sort of a budding hobby project that was maybe good in some open source repos to basically now the default, at least for me, it's now the default automation solution that, assuming all my code is on GitHub, which if your source code is on GitHub, I'm pretty sure that someone else's that you're using is on GitHub. So you're going to have to use GitHub regardless. And the one caveat that I have with this platform, really the one big thing right now, was reusability all year long. And so in November they announced the GA of this bunch of reusable features where now I can make workflows. We could all reuse actions before and steps, but we couldn't reuse other people's entire workflows without just making a copy of it like a template. And there's a lot of limitation there, especially if you're an organization where you're wanting to, I don't know, super lint 100 repos in your organization. Now you have to have a super linter YAML in every repo. Well, no longer. You can now just have one repo that is the super linter master workflow that's like generic, and then every repo just points to that. And so now we can have nested workflows, nested steps. It's wonderful.
So amazing.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I spent a good chunk of my recent career working in CI/CD tooling, so this pleases me greatly. I remember when GitHub Actions came out, it just like, I think everybody that was working on like Circle CI, CodeShip, whatever, we were all just kind of like, oh shit, like, this is coming. This is going to be great. Like, really happy about it, but like definitely raising the bar when it comes to just like developer experience and keeping everything nice and tidy in GitHub. So this is a huge win, and I love to see it. GitHub is I mean, it's ubiquitous, and if we can make lives easier and workflows easier, then 2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously competition. I love competition, but I also love standards, and sometimes that means someone has to win in the competition. And we have had for the longest time, I feel like the standard unofficially has been Jenkins, and I just never liked that as a default for anything. Even when it was really the only option a long, long time ago, I was always try to avoid it because I just never took to it really. And I think this one is one that I can totally get behind. The one major limitation I have left is I'm trying to automate. One of the things I've started to do is I'm having all my images rebuilt on fresh from images on a monthly basis, so that ideally, like any patches or whatever, don't, basically if the image is a year old, at least the dependencies aren't a year old. And so you can do that now. You can do cron-based workflows. However, if you do nothing in the repo for 60 days, you will get an email saying, we're going to turn off this workflow in the cron job unless you do something in the repo. And it's kind of bugging me because I pay for GitHub, and I'm like, no, I just want this to run forever. Like, I have minutes, I have limits. Like, you already have all that stuff, and I really wish they'd remove that restriction, because at that point it feels like I'm now not able to really use this as a universal automation engine for everything, because I will start getting emails that someone has to click a button. Anyway, just a thing.
That's such an interesting billing option, because I can see the intention being to prevent outrageous bills to customers that might be unaware that this thing is still turned on. But it should at least be configurable to just be like, I know, don't warn me again. Just let me keep racking up.
And they have limits for runners and stuff. And all those limits already exist. So it is a weird, arbitrary thing that I feel like if you're like, I can see that as a paid feature. Like, if you're paying, then let the crons run forever. But if you're not paying, then we limit
I mean,
it.
can you imagine AWS sending you a bill and saying, "Hey, it looks like you left this virtual," or a message saying, "It looks like you left this virtual machine running."
Your log4j. So of course the
Yeah.
log4j stuff is now turning into mining. So I was what that Sans video I was watching was talking about, that they're now seeing instances of payloads coming in to load a library remotely
Apps.
that will essentially make it a miner that executes. So that one of the ways to tell is to just look for CPU spikes in your infrastructure, which is
Yeah.
a general recommendation for all mining hacks. Like eventually, if you're
Yeah.
hacked enough, yeah.
I think you've pointed to like the source of my skepticism around anything that needs to be mined is because anytime you execute third-party code, for example, in a CI/CD system, people will use it for mining, no doubt. I even
Mm-hmm.
think Docker Hub has this problem. I think anything has this problem. People are creating Docker images and that have mining commands in them, and it's just such a pain. God, it's such a pain in the ass to try to build systems to detect it. Right, looking at CPU spikes, all this stuff. It's taken so much of my energy away that I think it's just jaded me into being excited about anything because I'm just like, ah. Anyway,
This is why we can't have nice things
yeah, that's why
or
we
free
can't have nice
things.
things.
Yeah,
Let's talk about one nice thing, though. I want to talk about WebAssembly. So
let's do it.
I'm very interested in WebAssembly. I think there's a couple links in our little doc, Brett, if you wanna
Yeah.
bring one of them up. But there's a great like WebAssembly in 100 seconds. Basically, this is like portable compilation target. Oh yeah, we can just read it here. Binary instruction
Oh, sorry.
format for stack-based virtual machine. It's like a nice way to use. It's a nice way to use languages that are not designed for the web on the web. Um, so I'm very interested about this. 1.0 is now in like the major browsers. I think the reason I'm excited about it is because Matt Butcher, who, if you follow Helm, you probably know Matt Butcher. I worked with him at HP. We go back a long way, but he just left Microsoft to start a WebAssembly company called
Hmm.
I forgot the name of it now. Let me look it up so I can give him a proper shout out. He has, fun fact about Matt Butcher, he has a PhD in philosophy. Yeah, Fermion Tech, working on WebAssembly. So I'm just like keeping an eye out. I'm curious to see what that's going to turn into. I'd recommend there's a WebAssembly in 100 seconds video on YouTube that's really informative. See if
I love those
I can
Fireship
drop that in. Yeah, there
videos.
we go.
They do really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm keeping an eye. I just want to see. I want to see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Anything that Matt Butcher does. I mean, Helm, for example, is turns out to be pretty useful.
I don't really understand a lot of the low-lying levels of tech on this, but all I feel like is that it's just another vector for attack that's going to be even harder to troubleshoot and see because it's going to be binary payloads and like it's just
Excuse me, Brett. Number 2 is safe. So
oh,
it says it right there on the website.
safe.
It's safe.
Memory safe, sandbox execution. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
like,
see. We'll see.
with a star. We thought containers were safe. We thought everything.
Right. It should say safer.
Yeah.
There should be an R on there.
Safer.
Safer.
I think Phil brings up a great point of like it seems it'll be significant, but why hasn't it gone further? Of like the Docker explosion, even after a few years, and I wonder if it's because Docker did explode, and maybe people are just a little bit skeptical, or it's not different enough that people are like getting in a tizzy. Like Docker just was so different, and maybe WebAssembly is just not as different. A little bit more under the radar.
I mean, one guess is that for a lot of people, it's a solution looking for a problem. If you've been a front-end developer for years and, you're solving all those problems with the tools and the languages you have now, and this is a complete shift as least as I understand it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't met a single person that says
Let's
they
see.
develop WebAssembly, but maybe I'm not hanging around the target market for this. So
I guess you're irrelevant. You're becoming irrelevant, Bret.
all that gray in my beard.
It's true. Cool. That's it. That's it for me.
I had one little quick one.
Yeah.
This the contains.dev. If you haven't seen this yet, it's actually weird at first because you're not sure if you're looking at GitHub or what, but it's kind of what we always wish Docker Hub would have done. And there have been tools in the past that have done this, but it's kind of beautiful and elegant. It's a way to look in images and look through the layers. Yeah, so you can look at the layers, or you can look at this is like the total summary of all the layers, and it pulls that image stuff from GitHub, and so it's pulling some of this data from GitHub. I think it's pulling it some, obviously from the library, which is from Docker Hub. So it's got both, and you can either go in a layer view or the what I just find interesting is that you can start diving into directories and seeing the total size of them. And there's Dive is another tool I love. I use the Dive CLI tool all the time, if you haven't heard of that one. But this is just another way that I don't have to download the image and then Dive. One of the problems with Dive, the CLI tool, is that on these bigger images, it might take a minute for it to actually finish analyzing all the layers. This is already done, so all the work has been done for you, and it's instant. But it doesn't tend to be it's not every image. It's just usually, I think, the official images. So.
This makes me so happy because way back when, like before like when Fig was still Fig and not Docker Compose, I worked on a tool called imagelayers.io.
Yes, that was one of the ones
exactly
I was
this.
thinking of.
Yeah, that was me and Gary Page and I think Brian DeHamer and Mike Arnold, probably a couple others. It doesn't exist anymore because this was like the graviest gravy train job that I had, but CenturyLink paid, I think we were a team of 12 just to work on Docker open source tooling, like back in 2014. Yeah. It was great. Then Microbadger, like Liz Rice, that's how Liz Rice and I met, was she, Microbadger kind of did what Image Layers did and did the badging to say image size, which I think is now in Docker Hub. But I always found it to be super helpful, like listing out actually what's in the image. And then what Image Layers did was showed you the common shared layers, which was pretty cool.
I do remember that visualization of the boxes with the lines or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. That was a fun little project. It's too bad that they let that rot after.
Yeah, I kind of killed it. Yeah. I do remember being sad about that because I think when it sort of end of life, it was before I knew about the Dive tool, before that tool existed. So I didn't really have a way other than maybe the history command or some of the other Docker commands from the command line to dig into it. But I have it. The trick with this tool is it's not yet ingrained in my brain to use it when I need to look up something. Yeah. And I need to start doing that because I don't even know who runs this thing. Like I don't even know. Nutmeg Studios. Nutmeg. That's a fantastic name.
It's weird.
I don't know who that is. I'd love to have them on the
Santa
show.
Claus.
Somebody get me a name. Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's Santa Claus.
But yeah, it's and I feel like they must be doing a lot of updates because even like that little logo in the bottom right, I don't feel like that was there a week ago. And I don't know why you pay, cool. but there is a paid. Oh, well, I guess you're not. I guess no one's paying right now.
No one's paying right now.
I think someone's log4jing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool,
no.
Bret.
All right.
Oh no.
So that's a favorite piece of tech.
Cool.
All right.
What's next for you in 2022, Bret?
Yeah, so
you're developing a course.
I'm probably focused. I'm just going to say I'm focusing right now on making all the current courses awesome as possible. The Docker Mastery course is going to get some new sections. I don't have a date, but we're working on those now to actually add fresh new content never before into that course to make it even better and longer. So if you're a Docker Mastery customer, then you will see that stuff. For me, the only two things I'll throw out there really quick are, these are not my personal ones, but things that I am involved with. Because I'm now a DigitalOcean navigator, which is like their influencer program.
Sounds
or whatever.
Dangerous.
Yeah, and they're just getting ready to announce like the first cohort of that I got to be a part of. So I'm grateful to them for that.
Nice.
But they have a community challenge, which I thought was this is really cool actually. It's going on only to the end of this month, so you got to get in now if you want to do this. But you basically just are. It's a way for them to get you to use their platform to check out their Kubernetes offering. And when you do that, you sign up and you follow all their steps. You actually get You get to donate on their. You get to pick who to donate $150 to that they will donate for you. I don't know how to say that. It's not your money; it's their money. But you get to pick who it goes to in Open Collective, so open source. And then you get a swag card for their store, and then a swag card for the CNCF store. So I feel like I don't know how long this would take. I don't know if it's an hour of time. I haven't done it myself yet.
Yeah.
I really want to do it because like this last year and this year, I think we're all lacking in swag lately. Like none of us are going to conferences yet, or most of us aren't. So I need a refresh in my drawer because all the shirts are getting worn out, and I need more socks is what I'm saying here. So
you need more socks.
I hopefully have time next week
cool.
over the holidays to do this. Yeah, I'll put that one in there in the chat.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then
I'm gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you had one more thing.
I had one more thing. Sorry, DockerCon. Just DockerCon is next year, but they announced that you can pre-sign up. So that's all I was going to point out is that if you want to do it 5 months ahead of time, 6 months ahead of time, you can sign up for DockerCon now.
Save that date.
And I think they're trying to do a hybrid. I'm not sure they've announced that part yet.
Okay.
But maybe they backed
KubeCon
off of that because of the variants. But yeah.
Yeah, KubeCon is hybrid. Well, at least now planned Valencia, which is a beautiful, beautiful place, and virtual.
Yeah, and is that?
That's
I
cool,
guess we can sign up for that one.
I think you can sign up for that one now as well. But like my appetite for conferences is coming back. I think it was good that we all could just take a break, as much as it was painful. Especially for folks like you, Bret, who just feed off of the energy of other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to get out of the house too.
I'm already going to be in Europe that summer. So, well, that's
you're going to come visit me?
So, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
On the river, doing a little river cruise thing. And because we've been postponing it for like 3 years. So we're hoping that next year is the year to actually get that cruise in, because we've had to postpone it every year. But I'm hoping. I mean, I didn't make it to. I was signed up and paid for LA this year, but then once once Delta and the mask mandate and all that stuff, I felt like
no way.
And I have to pay personally to go. Like, there's no company backing me, so it's always a harder decision for me, unless I'm speaking, and I have not done any of that this year. But you're right. I love the break. It was nice, but yeah, you're right. I'm totally wanting to see friends in the real world again. Yeah. So Detroit's good. That's right. I forgot about Detroit. So
up to our antics.
And I haven't been in Detroit, so that's gonna be another cool one if that still happens. I love their and their design.
It's great. It looks great. There's lots of oranges in Valencia, so very on brand.
So real quick, what about you? I know you got to go real quick, but
what am I doing in 2022? I am also going to launch a course or like a training program. I'm helping engineering leaders become the leaders that they wish that they had, and especially if you are wanting to grow in your career or have just like moved into management or moved into like a staff engineering role and find yourself just like uncomfortable when you got to give, I don't know, performance feedback. There's a lot of new things that you're going to have to do when you get to those higher levels, influencing people, roadmap discussions, working effectively. I'm putting together all of my lessons learned from being a VP, from being just in my career. So if you're interested, you can. I don't have anything yet, but I'm going to be launching it in 2022. If you go to laurataco.com, there's a little email thing where you can sign up and just get more info. No sales spam, I promise, but that's going to be what I'm up to. And could be that Bret and I have some collaboration in the cards as well. We'll just...
Maybe. Some evil plan someday.
Yeah,
no promises,
maybe someday,
but so where am I doing this?
All the way down. Go all the way down. There's a little email newsletter. He's like sign up. So thanks, Bret.
Done.
Done. Thanks. You'll be the first to know when I
Schedule an
launch
intro
it.
call. Can I have coffee next week?
Anytime you miss me, Bret, you can just go ahead and schedule a call with me. So
That's what I feel. That's been a trend I've noticed this year, especially around everyone getting Calendly because I guess COVID meant that they needed to schedule more things.
Yeah,
As an online
problem.
meeting or something. And I've noticed now that seems to be the default answer of my friends is I say, hey, can we hang out? And I get the response is a Calendly link. It's
Calendly response. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't haven't done that myself, but maybe I should just get into the thing and just finally do it.
Like if you've not done it yourself, like the time is going to be
now.
soon that you need to do it. So.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Great.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, what a good way to wrap up the year. Lots of interesting things happening. You know, I think if you would go back to our 100th episode that we did, oh, that's cute. If we went back to that 100th episode we did with Nirmal last year, and you said, hey, in 1 year, it's still going to be like COVID times with lockdown, and we won't yet have been like returned to normal, I think we would have all three of us would have been like, there's no way. But yeah, here we are. So
here we
are. We made it another year. Let's just hope a year from now when we do this episode again that maybe we can be together on a beach somewhere drinking bourbon.
That sounds fantastic. Or Mai Tais. Bourbon or Mai Tais.
Whatever.
Well, thank you again so much. And we'll look forward to this happening next year. And so for all of you, this is not actually our last show of the year. Technically, next week we will have Udemy Q&A. So come back next week for all just straight back to the, me and you on the internet, Q&A, you in chat, me answering with maybe sometimes a correct answer or a good answer, and then sometimes not.
50% of the time.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. It's a crapshoot. But we'll be doing that, and then in January we've got some more special guests coming in. So you'll hear about that from me. By the way, to hear all that stuff and to find out about all that stuff, there's a link below for Patreon. So all of my patrons, thank you so much for being sponsors of this show. You're the reason this is possible, and we can actually get all the people to support that we have in the background that are editors, podcast makers, marketers that are helping me make this thing happen. So thanks again. And you can find us on Twitter. Both of us have our little Twitter handles down here. And have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays.
Ciao.
Until next time.